mode. There we go. Okay. Well, welcome. Maybe we'll have a few more people drop in. I don't know, but glad you could stop in. So I'm Professor Vollmer. I'm the chair of the Geology Department. So the geology, which makes up, Dr. Chowdhury will introduce himself in a minute. So this is kind of one half. Geology is basically one half of the EGS major. So if you're interested in either the geology or the EGS major. So myself, let's see, I have 3 degrees in geology. I'll mention a undergraduate geology degree from the University of California, Davis, and then a master's degree in geology from the State University of New York at Albany, and then a PhD from the University of Minnesota. And I've worked in a number of places. A lot of my PhD work was done in Norway. And I was attracted to geology because it's a lot of outdoors activity, and you get to think about and study many interesting topics, including mountain building and plate tectonics, which particularly fascinated me. So the Geology Department has 6 faculty members, including myself and Dr. Chowdhury. And we have a fairly wide variety of specializations, from structural geology to mineralogy, to petrology, geomorphology, and so forth. Okay, and I guess after Dr. Chowdhury introduces himself, I'm going to play a short video that one of our members, our department faculty, put together as a kind of a brief introduction to the geology and EGS programs. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Shafiul Chowdhury. I am, the hydrogeologist in the department, and I am also the director of the Environmental Geochemical Science program. So, and I did my undergrad from Bangladesh, and I got my PhD from Western Michigan University, which, at that time, in 1999, they exclusively gave, PhD in hydrogeology, which is, groundwater. And the Environmental Geochemical Science program is, it doesn't have a department, it is interdisciplinary, but, all the administrative activities and, students are also usually hang out within the geology department. There are a few, they also, are more inclined to the chemistry, but I can safely say 90% of the EGS majors are, in the science hall most of the time. And again, this is an interdisciplinary program, so we don't have any department. So, the geology department office, in fact, deals with, all the activities that, are happening within the environmental geochemical science majors as well. So, after the video introduction that Professor Vollmer will show you, and, I have a very brief presentation about, the environmental geochemical science program that I would like to share with you. That should answer, many of your questions about the program itself. So, Professor Vollmer, yeah.
Okay, so unless you have any questions at this point, I was going to play this short video, which Professor Rayburn put together regarding the geology and EGS majors. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and then start this video. Works here. Can everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a 31. Oh, hi everybody. Welcome to the SUNY New Paltz Geology Department. I'm Dr. Rayburn. You must be here for freshman orientation. We have a lot to talk about. what our department is, why you want to take geology, what can you do with a geology degree, what's the geology class like. Let's talk about those things. But first, let's take a walk. Come on, grab your hat. Let's go. So you like rocks? We do too. We like to look at them. We like to collect them. We like to climb them. We like to go down in. But there's more to tell us than just looking at the rocks. It tells us something about the history. These rocks tell us something about the economic history of our area besides the environmental history and the geological history of our area. And we've got classes that'll teach all that, and every one of them goes outside to a place kind of like this. Let's keep walking. So freshman year, you'll take our introductory courses, which cover a little bit of everything. And then after that, our upper division courses, we start to focus and specialize, starting with mineralogy and going on to petrology, paleontology, or sedimentology. And we also have environmentally based classes like hydrogeology, water resource management, environmental geochemistry, natural resources and energy. And all these classes, we get to go outside as well. So we can, we live in such a beautiful place that we can just, go outside and see what the geology looks like in its natural environment, the real world. And we get to do that. Each class has a component that includes a field trip or more than one field trip. And then at the end of each year for our senior and some junior students, we do what we call the West Trip, where we go to interesting places like the Grand Canyon or Death Valley or Yellowstone, Hawaii. So a big trip looking at geology for about 10 days. But, geology is more than just being outside, as much as we love doing that too. There's also necessary lab work that you have to learn. And we have all the amazing facilities back at campus. So let's head back to campus and I'll show you some of the cool lab stuff we have. We're back to Science Hall. Let's go in. The Geology Department's just on the inside. A lot of people think that studying geology is just about looking at rocks. Well, yeah, sure, we do a lot of that. Besides outside, we can look at hand samples like these that we collect and we bring back and we can examine, or we can cut them up. We can saw a rock open. Did you know that was such a thing? Yeah, such a thing. So we can cut it open and make a small chip like this and end up making it so thin that we can pass light through it and look at it under a microscope like this. And we can identify what minerals are in there and what processes made the rock. And we do that in a lab like this one. I told you we can cut rocks open. Well, there's our rock saw. So we can take a rock, bring it here, we can cut it into small pieces, and then we can polish it down and make it so thin that we can finally mount it on a glass slide and pass light through it and see what's inside. Also like rocks because they have fossils in them too, and we can use the fossils to study the history of life on Earth, and we can bring the rocks back and crack them open and study them in a lab like this one. This really cool microscope lets us look at rocks and minerals at a microscopic level. It's called a scanning electron microscope, and it even does some cool geochemistry. Neat, huh? This is our hydrogeology lab, where we can look at the chemistry of water and for our water resources. And in a lab like this, we can look at what's going on with the water in the ground or water on the surface. This one's my laboratory, where we can look at things like tree rings. We look at climate records and sediment cores. And that's my ground penetrating radar back there, where we can investigate what's going on underneath the ground using radio waves. Here's the computer lab, where we have software specialized for doing things like mapping and rock analysis. So this is one of our classrooms for geology. And in this classroom, everything you need, including all the rocks that you want to study, easily at your fingertips anytime you need them. Let's talk about the classes you need to sign up for. You're here because you're interested in earth science, whether that's geology or environmental science or earth science education. Well, freshman year, they all start off with the same series of classes anyway. So the first thing that you want to sign up for is physical geology and physical geology lab. So physical geology lecture is GLG 201. There's two sections of that. I teach one, and my good friend Dr. KP teaches the other. And physical geology lab is GLG 211. And there's several sections of that, and you can mix and match these to fit your schedule. There is also credit for the physical geology field trip. I told you every class in geology has a field trip, and we'll give you credit for those if you sign up for those credits. So the credit hour for physical geology field trip is GLG 299. Besides that, you also want to sign up for general chemistry. So general chemistry lecture, CHE 201, and there are several sections of that to choose from, and general chemistry lab, CHE 211, and several sections of that to choose. Aside from that, you also want to evaluate where you are in math. I hope they've taught you about your MPL or math placement level. This is really important. You need to be at least MPL 4 to get into general chemistry. If you're not there yet, get the class that gets you there. And then by the end of your sophomore year, for the earth science majors, you need to be MPL 5, which means you need to be through college level pre-calculus, or else you're going to be held up because there's math requirements for upper level classes. Now, beyond that, you also want to take any other classes by advisement. Your advisor might say, oh, you should take composition 1, or you should take a foreign language, or might suggest some other classes that might be of interest for general education, or you're considering a minor. But this is the starting block from this. So I hope that we can see you in the fall in one of our classes. And even if you, in the end, you decide that you didn't want to be an earth science major, you're sitting here thinking, maybe I do, maybe I don't, I'm not sure. Take these geology classes because they're fun and they're interesting. You get to learn about the earth around us, which is always good. And these classes fulfill the science general education credit, which you needed anyway. And then you're good to go explore some other major, which is why maybe you took a fun GE, maybe you took a music class or a philosophy class or a history class, and maybe that interests you more. That's fine. But I'm really hoping I get to see you in the fall in these classes. So what can you do with the geology degree? Well, there's lots of options. For those of you who are in earth science education, well, you're in it to become a teacher. That's great. That's the job I love. But before I became a teacher here at SUNY New Paltz, I did a lot of things. You know, I worked for a mining company at one point in my life. You can do that. You can work for oil and gas. You can do that too. You could work for a company that cleans up after the mining companies and the oil and gas companies. You can certainly do that. You could work for a federal agency. Right before I came here, I was a federal climate scientist working for the United States Geological Survey, which is part of the U.S. Department of the Interior. And that was a fun job. You could work for a state agency like the DEC or the New York City DEP. We have alumni doing that. About half of our graduates go directly to graduate school before they choose what job they want to do next, and that's certainly an option. Plus, there's also now licensure in New York State where you can become a licensed professional geologist, and our program is certified to give you the courses that you need to take the test for that licensure. So that's an option. Lots of options for you within the geology or science major, depending on what you want to do, and we can teach you how to be successful at any of these things. Okay?
Okay, let's stop sharing. There we go. Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay. So before Dr. Chattery starts his presentation, so Dr. Rayburn there, who did that, is so he teaches both geology and EGS classes, including the environmental geochemical science class. And he advises both geology and EGS students. All right, so Dr. Chattery, you want to go ahead and give your presentation?
Sure.
Were there any questions at this point?
Okay.
Okay, well, let's let Dr. Chattery go ahead.
So I have, a very short PowerPoint presentation about the environmental geochemical science program. So I will, share that with you. So can you see this window? So environmental geochemical science, as I mentioned before, that this is an interdisciplinary program. So by taking this program, you will be taking, almost half geology classes and half chemistry. And the way this is designed so that you can utilize those to solve environmental problems. And that is the main, goal here. So we also have room for students who like to do ecology. So that route is open as well. So by taking, this program, or, going through this program, you will also have a broad range of careers in government and academia. And a lot of, skill that you will develop by doing, hands-on field and lab activities, that you will be able to solve problems, related to environment locally and globally. And our program is very, very field and lab oriented, as Professor Revan showed you, because many of these classes that he mentioned there, it will be also required for the EGS program. For example, physical geology, mineralogy, geomorphology, natural resources as energy that I started, teaching, hydrogeology I teach, water resource management I teach. You will be taking those. But the one thing that is significantly different from the geology program is you will be, doing a faculty mentored research that is required for this program. But for geology, it is optional. So what this particular research means, that you usually pick a topic with a faculty mentor, and then you start collecting field or lab data, and then eventually you submit a report for this, and then you present that during your senior seminar presentation. And this is also a required thing for EGS major to do. And we call this our capstone class. And when you become an environmental geochemical science major, depending on your goal, whether you would like to go to an entry-level jobs or graduate school, we also guide you by advisement so that you can take the right classes for that. And like Professor Reban also mentioned, as soon as you will come in the fall and meet with us, one of your advisors, we will make a 8-semester plan for you so that you know exactly when you will be graduating, uh, based on all the classes that you will be able to go through based on that plan. So that is the main points about the environmental geochemical science. But the important thing is this is a mixture of chemistry and geology mostly. And then if you want to take biology option, there is room for that as well. So here is a picture that students worked with me in a farming community, and they are doing an infiltrometer experiment to determine what is the right amount of water to irrigate for this cornfield. So this is a picture about the stream flow. We call it stream gauging. This is a picture students working in the lab to analyze for chemicals in water samples. This is a picture that I'm collecting water sample in the island of Vanuatu of the coast of Australia, where this sample was utilized by an EGS major to do her EGS research. And this is a picture, the student Daniela, who worked with Professor Rayburn to figure out how much erosion is happening in an area. And they also collected samples where they used this particle size analyzer in the lab, in Professor Rayburn's lab, to analyze for fine particle sizes. So these are few pictures that I wanted to share with you, where students are actively engaged either in field or in lab situation. So these are few sample titles of senior seminar that the student presented in 2020 spring. And there will be 3 presentations this coming spring as well. As you can see that we have diverse type of topic, including water related, and chemistry related, biochemistry related, as well as climate related. So that's my, very brief, short presentation. But now, we'll be happy to answer any question if you have for us. Professor Baumer, your speaker is muted.
There we go. So let me just add one comment regarding the research. So as Dr. Chowdhury mentioned, the research is required for EGS. It's optional for geology. Many of our geology students do research projects. There's typically maybe 3 or 4, sometimes a semester, who are working on projects. And they are typically presented at regional and national meetings. And in fact, 3 of our students have won national awards for their geology research.
Yeah,
I just thought I'd just mention that.
I forgot to mention, we can also put a percentage, at least 60 or 70% geology students also do research. And that they love, to do that in the field.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Okay, so we're here to answer any questions you might have. And maybe if you had questions about, well, I think we probably answered some of the reasons why we hope that you will choose to come to New Paltz. I'm sure we know you have other options, but we can guarantee that, I think we can safely guarantee that if you come to New Paltz, it will be a very positive experience for you.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. Any questions you can think of?
Margaret or Francisco?
No, I can't think of any.
Okay.
Is there any internships available for incoming freshmen?
So I couldn't hear you clearly. Could you please repeat that question?
Sorry. Is there any internships available for incoming freshmen or sophomores?
So, for incoming freshmen, it will be a little bit difficult because you need, little bit of background to start on internship. But during your sophomore year, there is a strong chance that you might be able to get, because we have, different programs that are supported by the campus. For example, summer undergraduate research experience, we call it SURE. And during your sophomore year, you should be able to, apply for that with a faculty mentor. They have only one spot for freshmen. So that will be very tough to get, but there is a place for freshmen as well in that program.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, again, I appreciate you coming by, and I hope we were able to answer your questions. And we hope you will decide to come to New Paltz, but we wish you the best of luck at whatever your choices are, and best of luck with your education and future careers.
Best of luck to you too as well. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I guess we can conclude then.
Yeah, I think stop recording. Yeah.